The US President Joe Biden has announced a major new policy initiative shielding tens of thousands of undocumented immigrants residing in the United States from deportation. Now, in what amounts to one of the most sweeping immigration measures of Biden's tenure in his office. Now, under this initiative, the US Department of Homeland Security, they will take action to effectively grant federal protections to some undocumented spouses and children of US citizens. This new program, known as Parole in Place, will affect an estimated 5 lakh spouses of US citizens and 50,000 children under the age of 21. It's the same immigration policy that has been used for qualifying military families since the year 2007. But the timing of this proposal is nearly as notable as the substance, coming just weeks after the president unveiled a restrictive new measure to clamp down on asylum at the southern border. That policy drew sharp rebukes from progressive allies who accused the administration of adopting a wholly conservative framework toward immigration. Let's take a look at who qualifies, though. So one must have lived in the US for 10 years before the 17th of June 2024. The immigrant must be married to a US citizen. They will also get a 3-year period to apply for legal status, and they will also get temporary work permit in order to earn a day-to-day living. Let's listen in to what the US president had to say regarding these new sweeping immigration measures.
These young people known as Dreamers, Hispanics, South Asians, and more, who came to America as children, only know America as their home, have been able to live and learn out of the shadows. So many of them have graduated from high school and college and are starting families on their own, building successful careers, serving our nation in uniform, and so much more. We're a much better and stronger nation because of Dreamers like Javier, who just introduced me. So today I'm announcing new measures to clarify and speed up work visas to help people, including Dreamers, who have graduated from U.S. colleges and universities, landed jobs in high-demand, high-skilled professions that we need to have grow, to see our economy grow. It's the right thing to do. Just ask business leaders, ask labor leaders, ask economists, ask elected officials. They know it's good for American business. They know it's good for the American economy. They know it's good for America, period. This step builds on other actions we've taken to support Dreamers.
It is very important that we permit families to stay unified when someone is married to a U.S. citizen, permitting those families to stay together so that little children don't have to wonder when they go off to school in the morning whether or not mama or daddy will still be there when they get home late in the afternoon. The president, once again, is doing what Joe Biden does best. He is using his tools to try to advance the values of the American people. And that means treating our families as important and helping those families that have mixed legal status on immigration. So I strongly support him on that.
Obviously trying to walk a line between his progressive left that wants open. American people are just kind of like, they're sick of it. And frankly, they blame Biden. So I think all these are both him trying to have his cake and eat it too, in the one sense saying he's going to shut the border down, but in the other sense reassuring his progressive left that he's still going to be sensitive to letting people in. He's just got a political problem. And he's got a political problem because it's going against the instincts of his advisors.
Well, this latest move stands in stark contrast to Joe Biden's sweeping immigration order that was issued early in June. But for the latest from Ground Zero, let's go across to my colleague Nick Harper's report from Washington, D.C.
Well, this plan gives around 500,000 spouses of American citizens a path to citizenship. It means they can apply for a green card, which gives them the right to live and work legally in the United States, which in turn can be converted into full US citizenship in the future. Around 50,000 undocumented children of US citizens will also be eligible. Up until now, spouses of US citizens have been able to apply for green cards, but have had to leave the US in order to do so, and that can mean as much as a decade outside of America while the paperwork is processed. The Biden administration says this new plan is a common sense fix that will keep families together and keep them in their jobs, thereby helping to boost the US economy. More than 500,000 undocumented immigrants are eligible for the new program. Now, many of them are Mexicans, but it's thought that it could also benefit thousands of Indian Americans who are currently living here in the US. President Biden is hoping to win over voters with this announcement, in particular voters in key battleground and border states like Arizona. It's also an olive branch to immigration advocates who heavily criticized Biden's executive order earlier this month, which limited migrants' ability to seek asylum. But Biden's rival in November's presidential election, Donald Trump, has called it a mass amnesty plan and warned it will lead to a greater surge in migrant crime and will cost taxpayers millions of dollars. Trump added in a statement that Biden doesn't care about American lives that will be forever destroyed by the illegal criminals he is importing. This new plan could, of course, face legal challenges in the courts, as is often the case when any president or administration tries to take action on immigration. The application process for the new program is scheduled to open by the end of the summer, providing hundreds of thousands protection from deportation, something Donald Trump has threatened to do if he's re-elected in November. Nick Harper, NDTV, Washington.
And to better understand how this new policy impacts Indians in the United States, we have with us Soundarya Balasubramani. Always a pleasure to chat with you, Soundarya. 500,000 immigrants could eventually get US citizenship under this sweeping new plan from Biden. Tell us how this new plan differs from the regulations that are already in place for undocumented immigrants.
Right. So I believe, DACA was introduced all the way back in 2012 under the Obama administration.
Yes.
The main difference with this one is that President Biden has now allowed undocumented spouses of US citizens who've been here for at least 10 years and came through the country illegally. So there's about 500,000 people who fall into this very specific category right now. And all of them will now get a chance to get legal status, work in the US, and get a chance to get their permanent residency in the future.
In fact, as per the Pew Research Center, Indians actually form the third largest group of undocumented immigrants in the US. This policy is now likely to spare them of deportation fears, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But more than deportation, I feel like it gives them the right to legally work in this country and get a path to citizenship, which for legal immigration for Indians has always been a struggle. I mean, green card backlogs can go as much as 100 years for certain Indians through legal immigration routes. So I think it's a huge win for them.
But Soundarya, how crucial is immigration as an issue for voters in the upcoming US elections? The US president's new policy has a related political motive that many political analysts argue they cannot ignore.
Yeah, I think this has always been, first of all, it's very important, especially for the undocumented people. Getting the right to stay here legally means that one day they will become citizens and they will have to vote. And at that point, I think the Democrats are hoping that they vote for the Democrats. And there's about 11 million undocumented people today in this country. And so that's 11 million votes that Democrats might get a decade from now. But I think they're working backwards and thinking long term. But it's definitely the right thing to do.
Well, but Biden's new policy, it sets up in significant political contrast with the presumptive GOP presidential nominee Donald Trump's, whose hardline stance on immigration includes a push for mass deportations. But as far as public sentiment is concerned, which way is the tide favoring at the moment? Who would you say is leading in terms of popularity?
To be very honest, I haven't seen the latest poll numbers, but I can only say that from my standpoint, as an immigrant myself in this country, I hope President Biden wins.
Well, Soundarya, always a pleasure to chat with you. Thanks so much for joining us with that brief update from Ground Zero.
Thanks for having me.